Hello, everyone. My name is Carylyne, and I lead strategy at CoinMarketCap. I'm super excited to have you guys with us today. I think 2 years ago, when I first started attending conferences on behalf of CoinMarketCap, people were really surprised to see real people behind the company. So in the same spirit of openness and change, I want to share a little bit more about where we are thinking and how we think we'll be moving forward, how we're going to drive the industry forward some more. So in 2013, when CoinMarketCap started, it was a way for us to value cryptocurrencies against each other, against Bitcoin. Over the years, I think that vision has really expanded to make crypto more discoverable and more efficient globally. And I think we have proven that this is something that works. Last year, we had 125 million users and 3.6 billion page views, as you saw in that wonderful video earlier. So there are three key drivers of our strategy that we're really focusing on going forward. And these are, first, to democratize access to accurate crypto data. So we'll talk about accurate crypto data in a moment. The second is to incorporate the universe of crypto content. And the third is to engage widely with our industry. So all of you being here today is part of that. So thank you so much for coming to the Capitol. So let's dive deep into democratizing access to accurate data. So something that keeps coming up to me last year was people keep asking me this question: what is CoinMarketCap doing about the fake volume problem? So that's something that's happened over and over to many of us on the team. And in order to answer that question about what we're doing, the most important thing is to start with asking ourselves the question, why do we use volume as a metric in the first place? And I think that's something that, if we look at when we started, we borrowed this term from the traditional finance space. So where volume is actually a good indicator of trading interest and activity. If you were suspected of wash trading in the traditional markets, you would be quite severely cautioned. Whereas if you look at how crypto has evolved over the years, it's actually quite different. As we know, crypto is much more decentralized. It is much more different in terms of regulation across jurisdictions. So it is harder to say that volume can be a good metric. And I think in the last year, volume might have lost its purpose as a metric because of the way that people started to game it to climb the ranks on CoinMarketCap exchange or market pair ranks. So when we look at what's out there, like how people are trying to solve for this problem, we realize that many of these solutions are quite lackluster. For example, some people say, oh, this is a good exchange, this is a bad exchange, or it's really binary, or let me just pick a bunch of exchanges that I think are trusted. Or maybe they look for unrelated correlation. For example, if your traffic is really low, but your volumes are high, it must be fake volume. But maybe that's not true. Maybe a lot of people trade through their API keys. Or maybe they try to go the simplistic route, like let's just look at a fixed percentage of the order book depth. But even then, that's really easily gamed. So when we were kind of work through all these problems at the root, what we were trying to do is find a solution that would be superior in three ways. The first is that it has to be objective and data-driven, because CFC is a data company, so that's important to us. Second is that it should be non-binary. It should be in ranges and not hard limits, not black and white, like what we were saying some of the other solutions are proposing. And finally, it has to be applicable to all the assets, all the market pairs, all the exchanges on CoinMarketCap, because people come to our site for that, and we have to make sure that it's definitely going to cover the depth and breadth of the entire crypto market. So that's how we came to the idea that with our metric, we have to make a metric that levels the playing field, but also creates public good at the same time. And today, that's what I'm going to share with you, our complete solution to the fake volume problem. And that's in the form of our liquidity metric. So like I said, it is data-driven and it is adaptive. So let me tell you how that works. First, let's start with the components that make up this metric. The first is, with the liquidity metric, it is across the 24-hour rolling average period, because we want to make sure that we account for any changes across the 24-hour period. And in terms of components that make up the metric itself, we're looking at distance of the order from the mid price, because as you know, the closer to the mid price, the more relevant it is to traders. The second is the size of the order, and the third is the relative liquidity. Now, when we put all of these components together, what we find is that we have a metric that is extremely hard to game because it's dynamic. So like we said, orders that are closer to the mid price has higher weight. The orders that are further from the mid price are more heavily discounted. So the extent of the discount adapts to the absolute liquidity of that market pair. So for example, if you're looking at a BTC USDT pair on a very liquid exchange, that's going to be very different from the 2000s rank coin on an exchange, and that's not traded as actively. Absolutely speaking, their liquidity would be very different. So if you look at the chart on the right, you would see that something that has a lot more liquidity would be discounted much more heavily as the orders move away from the mid price, and the green line is something where it's much less liquidity. So that really means that for us, when we roll out this metric, it is able to adapt to every single market pair that's on CoinMarketCap. So the tens of thousands of market pairs that we have on the site will be able to benefit from this as well. So it's already available on our site. So if you go to CoinMarketCap, go to any of the crypto detail pages, you would find a new column in the Markets tab called Liquidity. So I think it's really exciting because if you take a look at markets ranked by liquidity and markets ranked by volume, it is very different. So on that site, you can see that's ranked by adjusted volume. On this site, you can see that's ranked by liquidity. So for example, the first rank on liquidity is actually ranked 127 by adjusted volume. So I think that's something that is exciting to us. Similarly, if you look at the top 50 exchanges ranked by liquidity, it's very different as well. That's volume, and that's, again, liquidity. So play around on your own time. That's also available on the site already. So excited to hear what you guys think about that. So all in all, liquidity will soon be the default ranking metrics. Right now, it is using adjusted volume or volume. So the first thing is we thank our data partners because they actually given us the first iteration of feedback for this metric as we were developing it. And the second is back when we were rolling out our data initiative, the first phase of that, we actually already input 70% of our of exchanges order books, and now we're calling for the rest of them because as we are moving towards liquidity being the default ranking metric, we have to make sure that all the order books are in so that you can continue to stay part of the metric. So if you know any exchanges that haven't done it yet, make sure to ask them to submit the endpoint to us. So with our liquidity metric, we hope that we will help to drive more liquid markets because orders will start to have to be placed close to the mid price in order for it to really show up on that liquidity metric much more. And also at the same time, with the focus on liquidity and not on volume, we hope that we will help to make the crypto markets more liquid, more efficient, because it's really our way of helping our users to find the best markets to trade on for the best current price. So liquidity is such an important metric for that, and we're super excited to be rolling that out today. Woo! So actually, liquidity is not the only game-changing thing that we're trying to do with our data. So we talked about accurate data. The next phase of that is actually state-of-the-art pricing. So right now, when we look at pricing, it's, like for us, moving towards a new pricing is actually really interesting because what we really found is that we're able to graph the relationships between crypto assets for their pricing. And what we're doing with our new algorithm that we'll be rolling out soon is that we're basically solving simultaneous equations across multiple iterations at the same time to get to the most accurate pricing for each crypto asset at that point in time. So it's a little bit complicated to explain, so we will share the methodology later. But I think the most important thing to note is that this will definitely be the most sophisticated pricing algorithm that's out in the market today. And we are excited that we'll be able to do even more data-driven research with our pricing algorithm. So for example, using that as an extension of our current metrics like market cap or circulating supply, we can do more research there. We can have even more accurate indices or even investable indices in the future. And finally, to extend our work on liquidity. So to explain it a little bit more, right now our pricing is based on volume. So we just said we're going to go in the way of liquidity, so how does that gel with volume? And I think what we're trying to do is to actually move towards using liquidity as an input to pricing instead of only using volume. So I think that's really exciting. So, maybe VWAP will go away someday. So I think that sums up what we are thinking about in terms of accurate data. So moving to the second part about incorporating the universe of crypto content. I suppose this part is also really exciting for our users because it's something that you can actually see beyond just metrics or data. So let's first recap what we have already done this year. The first is we launched our indices, Crypto 200, as well as Crypto 200EX, excluding Bitcoin. So this is something that has already been launched on NASDAQ, Bloomberg, and Refinitiv. So that's our way of outreaching to the market outside of just the crypto sphere. Secondly, we also launched our block explorers. So this is for us to add even more blockchain data and different types of data on CoinMarketCap. So right now we have block explorers for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, and we will be adding more and making sure that we keep making that more robust. Third, we have Interest by CoinMarketCap, which was very, very recently launched. So this is our way of helping people to find venues for borrowing and earning crypto. So we find this really interesting because I've actually seen how yields have become more efficient as people start to compare different platforms in the same place. So that kind of openness, transparency, competition is actually driving more efficiency, pretty much in line with what I said about our vision of driving efficiency in the space. And lastly, we also launched our mobile apps. So people really like the apps. If you don't have it yet, you have to download it. The design is something that we are very, very applauded upon for our mobile apps. So speaking of design, I think that it's really, I think it's understandable when people say that the design hasn't really changed much on the site, because if you compare 2013 and 2019, that still looks pretty much similar. So as we talk about adding more content to the site, we obviously have to focus more on a more modern user experience, making sure that we can make things more discoverable on the site, making sure we can put more things in places which people can actually see and enjoy as part of the experience. So for example, with this, you would see that we have new things like a redesign of the gradients, which is not showing up on the screen, but that's happening, as well as new fonts. So what we're trying to do is do a lot of testing now to figure out what do people enjoy and keep that, but do more to change up the experience so that it looks much cleaner. For example, if you were to look a little bit closer, you would see that we are going to introduce filtering and tagging soon on just the main page. So if, for example, in the screen, you could see if you want to look for a sector like finance, you would be able to do that directly on the main screen. So this is our way to start helping people to customize their experience on CoinMarketCap and be able to do more with the site, even when they just land on the page. And obviously, we'll also be going to add more other content beyond price and volume and now liquidity. So some of you might have already seen Flipside Crypto. We're going to add crypto briefing, token insight, and into the blog very soon, and many more to come. So this is our way to help our users to find and make even more informed decisions directly on the site with the content being integrated in the same place. And beyond that, I think we want to drive even more utility. So this is also something new on CoinMarketCap, which is you can now find a job on CoinMarketCap. So we've already launched this, so you can look for our jobs bot on the site. There are already jobs on there. So CMC being the central hub for everyone as it is, I think it's a really great place for people to post jobs and also people to look for jobs. And there's a promo going on, so go out to our booth if you want to find out more information. Our team can tell you more about the jobs board there. And finally, for mobile, because people love the mobile, we are going to add even more localization support to make sure that people can enjoy it in their native language. So Simplified Chinese is just launched, so if you don't have it yet, you can download that. There's also Russian coming, Korean, as well as Japanese. So many more of the other languages will be coming soon to our mobile. And for mobile as well, when we launched it this year, we also provided portfolio features. So that was a very simple portfolio. What we're going to do is to expand that out even more so that people can scale out in terms of looking at options like adding date and time of trades, which exchanges they bought it from, multiple portfolios, and so forth. So that's all really exciting stuff for including more content, bringing more people into the universe of crypto content. And let's talk about the last driver of strategy that I mentioned, which is engaging deeply with our industry. So how can we do more with our partners and users? And obviously, the one thing that comes to mind is education. because we are the landing page for all things crypto, and we've had so many requests to add more information directly because people land on the site and they're just like, what do I do here? It's all numbers. So I think what we're trying to do is to actually have this content directly on the site itself so that people can start to learn about crypto, but also refer to the data at the same time. So for example, we start with things like intro to crypto, technical analysis, or let's say investing for beginners. And here's where we actually work with some partners, and we'll be announcing partnerships for content here very, very soon. And even beyond that, what we're trying to do is help to match people and create more interactions on the site among our users. So right now on our mobile, you can already log in. On the site, we will also be offering logins soon. So you will be able to join the fun, do more social stuff, maybe even play a game with each other on CoinMarketCap directly very, very soon as well. So I'm super excited about that outlook for next year. Finally, we are also going mainstream. So we are now featured on Yahoo Finance, and we have many more to go. And what we're trying to do is really to provide our accurate data to as many people as possible outside of the crypto space so that they have the right exposure to crypto. And going beyond just our pricing, we will also be providing our educational content to many of our providers and partners here as well. So with that in mind, we hope that when we look at these 3 drivers of strategy, the first one being accurate data, we want to make sure we can continue to do that, as you saw with our liquidity metric, as well as our new pricing algorithm coming. The second is incorporating the universe of crypto content, which you saw, which is adding even more data and information to the site, as well as creating more utility for our users on the site. And finally, to engage with our industry, with education, with outreach, and so forth, so that all of this comes together to make sure that we can deliver on our vision of having discoverability and efficiency for crypto as an industry, as an asset class, and at the same time driving more transparency and clarity for what we're doing in the space together. Thank you so much for coming out to the Capitol. So I'm super excited. Woo! I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say about our strategy. I know this is probably the first time that you have heard someone from CoinMarketCap talk about our strategy in detail. So I'm going to be roaming around outside, so look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you.
If you like our videos and want more information about cryptocurrency and new ICO, please subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell icon. Thank you.